Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today we have something a little bit different. Recently, we asked for your help, for your feedback in our first ever listener survey. And considering we have been doing this podcast for over 5 years, it was perhaps a little bit overdue, but y'all showed up in a really impressive way. Every time we would get it, I was like, oh my gosh. It's very exciting to see the reviews roll in.
Yeah, exciting is not how I would describe it.
Make you a little bit nervous?
It did make me nervous, but there was a lot of great constructive feedback.
Yes.
That I think if you are a regular listener, you have already seen implemented. There was also some other things that made me hurt my feelings a little bit.
Yes. I will say the vast majority of people were very complimentary, had very nice things to say. Overall, it was very positive, but a lot of you did have constructive ideas. And look, I take everything personally. It's just in my nature. But at the end of the day, some of these things we are able to look at and say, like, that's actually a fair point. Like, what can we do about that? And some of it won't be changing.
Yeah, don't worry. We're not going to put anybody on blast here for
No.
It was all anonymous.
It was all anonymous. Couldn't put you on blast if I tried.
Have you seen recently, people on Instagram and TikTok who have big social platforms who get nasty DMs? They'll screenshot it now and put it out and be like, this.
With the person who sent it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Don't worry, guys. We're not doing that.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
So in this episode, rather than reading all the lovely comments you left about how much you like us, how we're your favorite Hallmark podcast, how you like sitting and chatting at the kitchen table with you ladies, which we loved all of that. And I took all of that to heart. I might honestly print a couple of those up and put it in our new office.
I was like, is she going to needlepoint something?
Not needlepoint it, but maybe make a nice quote in a frame.
Yeah.
For our new office space.
Yeah. It's the equivalent of the motivational posters. Hang in there.
Look, employee of the month, man.
Right?
When you work for yourself, you got to make your own motivation.
Agree.
But we are going to address some of the criticism, some of the feedback that you had.
Because we have thoughts.
I
mean, I think it's fair to say we hear what a lot of you are saying. There are some things we might change, and then there are some things we're just not going to. We can't make those changes, or we just simply don't want to.
At the end of the day, we want to make a product that you guys are interested in.
Yeah, but
stay true to who we are.
Yes, exactly.
And so the changes that we can make that make it a more pleasant listening experience, and having that outside feedback is helpful. So let's start with...
I thought you were going to say take a break.
Y'all ready for some ads? Don't worry, we're going to talk about it. The first thing a lot of you had talked about was, not a lot actually, about 15% of people mentioned the news and notes segment. Not everybody loves it. Some people do love it. Some people are like, I love learning more about it. Not everybody loves it.
This is what's funny, because if you have been a longtime listener, when we first started this podcast, we didn't do news and notes like that. We didn't get any information.
We would pull this is a fun fact, and we called it news and notes, but it was nothing like, here's the writer, here's the director, here's the actors, here's what they've been in. We'd be like, oh, Tyler Hines said blah, blah, blah about working on this movie.
Exactly. But 5 years ago, we got a DM, I remember who it was from, who said, you guys are not doing enough.
Right.
And then that's where news and notes was born from.
We said, okay, challenge accepted.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has gotten longer and longer. That segment has gotten longer and longer over time.
It's hard to know where do we cut it?
Where do you draw the line at?
Yes.
You're two big stars in the movie, and then everybody else is not important. No, I don't want to do that.
Right.
We had a producer on a series send us a DM and say, thank you so much for including these other people who don't get mentioned.
Right.
And so that makes me feel good when we're covering not everybody, but a majority of the people who have worked on a movie or a series. But y'all don't like that.
Not everybody loves it. So we did not, you may have noticed this change recently. We didn't cut news and notes. It still exists. But we're not running down every actor. We're shortening it and adding additional information to the website. So we're still running down the key points, giving you a bit of a frame of reference, but there's more information in the show notes at girlsgonehallmark.com for you to peruse on your own time should you be so interested. So we compromised a little bit. Just a couple little bits of feedback. One person said, tonally, I think it's a weird way to start a recap. Then you go to a commercial, then the recap begins. It's a little odd. Another person said, I find the list of acting and directing credits far too long and boring. I'd rather skip straight to the first impressions. So, heard.
Yeah, I'd be curious if you've listened in the last, we've been doing it about a month now. If you are enjoying the shorter segment of news and notes. I gotta tell you, it hurts a little bit for me.
I hear you. I know, because we were so proud of it, the work that we did there.
Yeah, and truly, I love seeing the crossover, the connections of like who's worked together before, who's done what before. Oh, I'm interested in maybe watching that now because I saw that they worked in this. I like that, but I'm a geek, so.
Well, me too. I like information like that. And what's interesting is we got some people who were like, nobody else does this. I love that you do it. And people who are like, nobody else does this. Why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Are you ready for the next hot topic?
I am.
It's ads. It's money, y'all. Nobody wants to talk about money, but everyone wants to make money. Nobody's mad when you walk into Gap and they expect you to pay for your jeans. We would like to make money. We like to get paid for the things that we do. This podcast is completely free to you. And I know ads are annoying. I get it. I'm post-commercial. I don't watch television with commercials, but I do tap through many ads on the podcast I listen to. And that is unfortunately going to be your fate too. However, we heard you on the volume. Hopefully you have noticed a difference.
Hopefully Howie Mandel is not screaming at you.
We did two big things. One, we reached out to our host. We asked for the level at which the ads are normalized, and we're doing the same with our podcast audio. So there should not be a big change in the more recent episodes. If you've noticed that, great. If you haven't, if there's still a big change, let us know specifically what episode. I'd be curious. I am not an audio engineer. I will admit that. Everything I know, I learned from the internet. Google is my friend. But we are
nor do we make enough money to pay an audio engineer to do this. So.
And we are an independently produced podcast. We're doing it all on our own. I've learned how to edit and do all of this on my own from the internet, from trial and error. And so, which is how nobody's going to college for podcast production, at least nobody my age.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe now.
Yeah.
Audio production, sure. But we have made a move to address that. We've also moved the ad placement later in the episode. So it's not right after first impressions.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for us to remember because we've done it so many years where actually we haven't done it so many. How long have we been running ads? 2 years?
Year and a half.
Okay. So, you get familiar with the format when we're recording this. Sure. It feels like natural to break in certain spots. So if you ever notice that, we'll be like, oh, let's take a break, or it's because we're just not in rhythm yet.
Yes. The other thing we did is a lot of people talked about the gambling ads. I did look at the back end. Gambling ads accounted for less than 2% of all ads, but a lot of people said they were getting a ton of them. And I had noticed them too. We turned off the gambling ads. There are some sensitive ad categories that we can automatically turn off, but we reached out to our host, had them turn off the gambling ads. If you're still getting them, that's an advertiser issue. They're categorizing them as something else, perhaps entertainment or something else. Maybe they're categorizing it as sports and not gambling specifically. So that's kind of a case by case, but we're trying to make it a more pleasant listening experience. So we want to monetize. We want to do it in a way that's not miserable for the listener.
Exactly.
And we do put the vast majority of our ads at the end of our episode.
Yes. Can I read what a listener said?
Sure.
Sometimes an episode shows at 25 minutes, but the last 6 to 8 minutes are all ads. The actual content feels shorter than it seems. I think there's two things here. Most of our episodes, if it's a regular, typical Hallmark movie review, it somewhere lands between
20 to 30 minutes.
20 to 30 minutes. That's how long it takes us. We never generally shoot for that time. It just is organically what happens.
Right.
Yes, the bulk of our ads do tack on at the end of the episode. Guys, you don't have to listen to those ads. Turn the episode off then. If you want to tap through them so the next episode runs, great, do that too. But we find that to be the least intrusive way to run ads on our show that aren't heavy up front or heavy in the middle.
All good points. Also, some of you mentioned, like, I would prefer host-read ads. We would too.
Yeah, we would too. Those are really hard to get.
That's a whole separate animal. The dynamic ad insertion, which is what we have. We drop ad slots and those are filled on the back end of our host read ads. It's a whole different production animal. Once again, we are a independently produced podcast. So if, someone wants to take on pro bono pitching work for us, hello@girlsgonehallmark.com, hit us up.
Yeah, I would love that.
I need an extra 12 hours in my day.
Not enough time.
There were two similar segments when people thought we were a little too soft.
Too soft in our ratings?
In our ratings and in our wishes segment sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So here are some quotes. I wish the final movie scores were a little more honest. The Allie Sweeney Ranch movie was just bad, but you gave it a 3. That didn't match your feedback. It's okay to give 1s and 2s occasionally. I get concerned with the Finding Mr. Christmas episodes that you're too afraid of hurting people's feelings to give critique. This one, it's a good podcast that could be great with a little more courage. And finally, if everything is always so positive, it seems boring. Please keep pointing out things that you don't like.
Where do you want to start?
I think this is a hard line to walk. I want to critique a performance and not an actor. I want to acknowledge when Benjamin Ayers made a video for us about voting for his movie in the Countdown to Christmas bracket, he was like, no one sets out to make a bad movie. We all show up to work every day and want to make a great movie. I think about no one sets out to make a bad movie constantly because nobody shows up to work thinking, I'm going to make this 2-star movie that might earn back what it costs to make it. So I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But like you said, there's no value in a positive review if we don't always have the opposite feeling. And I think we do have that take sometimes.
I feel like I have that take often.
I mean, we have given a 1-star rating to movies.
Absolutely.
We've given lots of 2-star ratings to movies.
I agree with you. It's a fine line. I think when we first started out, it was easy for me, Wendy, to kind of shit on these movies. And we had gotten some feedback from not people in the industry, but like listeners who were like, hey, you're not taking into account, like, these are people's livelihoods. And that has stuck with me for a really long time. Like, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be that stereotypical reviewer who thinks that everything is bad. That's not a fun place to operate from. That's why I'm a former Hallmark hater. Like, I did think these movies were bad, but over the years have really come to appreciate the work that goes into it. And there are a lot of good things about these movies.
And we rate them as their own genre. Hallmark movies are their own genre of movies. We're not comparing them to theatrical releases. They're not operating on the same scale.
And you guys, I'm not Roger Ebert either. Like, I know Jack SHIT about what makes a good movie other than just being a entertainment consumer.
One comment came in and said they've gotten too popular, and because we're on the radar of Hallmark now, we've pulled back our critiques.
I think that's untrue.
That has not happened. I'm aware of the real people behind these projects, and sometimes I do temper my critique in that regard. I will admit, because I am a human, I'm not 100% objective all the time. And it is something that I've been trying to think about. Is my critique genuine? Because I never set out to give a disingenuous critique. That's not my point. Like, oh, I'm going to pad this. But sometimes it happens. So we're people. But it isn't because I don't want Hallmark to be mad at me.
No.
Because the reality is, while we have gotten to know people at Hallmark, while we have access to screeners and sometimes access to talent because of the people at Hallmark, we've gotten some cool opportunities because of Hallmark. The podcast exists with or without their participation. And we're certainly not financially beholden to them.
Yeah, no one at Hallmark is telling us like, oh, you need to be nicer.
Never
and
once.
Never once. Nor do Megan and I operate in that way. Like, oh, we want Hallmark to see us, so we're going to play nice and be nicer and write these movies. That's not how we operate either.
No, but we're also not the podcast that's going to show up with the intention of being the Hallmark hater. That's not our goal.
Right.
Like I come at this wanting to like the movie. Sometimes I don't. And I think we're pretty honest when it doesn't work for us.
Yeah, for sure. Can we address the Finding Mr. Christmas comment?
Yeah.
Okay, so the comment you read, I get concerned with the Finding Mr. Christmas episodes that you're too afraid of hurting people's feelings to give critique. Season 2 was interesting for us because we got an incredible opportunity early on to be part of their reunion episode.
Yeah.
We knew who won. Mm-hmm. We met these people. But you guys, if you've ever read my recaps on our website,
We said, Gabriel, not a great actor. Cool guy. The nicest person you will ever meet in person.
One of the nicest, yeah.
Liked him as a person. Not a great actor. And Gabriel knew. Gabriel made a self-deprecating comment at the reunion. Like, he was like, oh, were you so surprised to see that I didn't win? I thought it was going to be hard for me to talk about the show knowing who the winner was. It wasn't really that hard to just live in the moment of the episodes and react. What was different is because we had met them, I had a very different perspective than I would have just watching them on television.
Same.
I knew Gabriel was a cool guy. I knew Davey will walk up to you and look you in the eye and have this super genuine moment with you. I knew that what's Mr. Golden Retriever energy, right? Like, we had a moment with those guys where we got to know them. It was on set. It was in a press relationship. I don't for any minute think that we are friends with them. But like Jake, who's in one episode, we got to talk to him and we had like a moment. I'm like, oh, I know them a little bit more. And so, yeah, we did like them.
Yeah.
If you're coming for Robbie, Wendy will tell you, we saw the first 2 screeners before we went to the set.
Yeah.
And you said, who do you like? And I said, Robbie's my favorite. Was he my favorite from day one? He was. Now, I know not everybody loved Robbie. Okay, fine. We had different opinions. I didn't think we were too generous.
I think a lot of people don't like the reality genre that Hallmark has taken on.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe a lot of people might want us to hate on that.
Oh.
But you and I are fans of the reality genre, especially this reality competition genre. Yeah. I love Finding Mr. Christmas. I'm pissed that it's not coming back.
Me too.
But I would never, yes, I can be
I
like
wasn't nice to Rustin, y'all.
Megan didn't like Rustin at all, guys.
Not as a person. I didn't dislike him as a person.
But we're fans of the genre, and I think we were fans of the show, and so that's why we were excited. And then, there's this human element, and we got to meet some of these people. So, like, yes, do we get kind of swayed a little bit?
Yeah, because we're people.
Because we're humans. Yeah.
That's interesting. We are fans of the genre. I also think people wanted us to be more critical of the acting. We're critical of where they are. These people are not established Hallmark actors yet. They're at the beginning. I could talk all day about Finding Mr. Christmas. Let's move on.
Okay, let's move on.
People don't like it when we do housekeeping up top. I don't like the plugging of the Facebook group every episode, maybe limit it to 1 episode per week. Whenever you bring it up, I tune out. I've tried to change up like the promos we do up top.
Yeah.
That unfortunately is another one of the cost of doing business things. I try and rush through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of stuff going on outside of the podcast. I just want people to know, like, hey.
I mean, if Facebook's not for you, it's not for you. It's fine. Facebook's not for me.
Yeah.
But I have a group over there, and thankfully now it kind of just operates on its own. Like, you and I don't need to be in there kind of like managing it. But if it's not for you, like, we have to promote. We have to promote. Otherwise, people are not going to find us. And then what's the point of doing this show?
And some people are like, hey, I'm brand new to the show, and they haven't heard us say it 562 other times.
Exactly.
So I did hear you. I do try and change those up, but unfortunately, and I try and just make it like a quick, hey, this is what we got going on. check us out.
Yeah, one of my favorite podcasts, I'm not going to mention it here, but one of my favorite podcasts, like they always start at the top of the episode of like, they want to know, they read a comment.
A review, yeah.
A review. I just tap through it because I don't.
Me too.
I don't care.
Yeah, same.
I don't care. I like reading our reviews on our podcast.
Yeah.
And I think the person who writes it in is probably excited to hear their review too, but maybe everybody else other than that doesn't. And
that's okay.
You can be like Megan and Wendy and just tap.
Yep. This is an interesting one. Some people said when asked about the first impressions segment that we could go a little deeper. First impressions sometimes seem to lean more toward quippy humor than relevant insights. I think that's an exact reflection of what we want that segment to be.
Yeah, I'm not changing anything about it.
That's just who we are.
It's my favorite thing to come up with every episode.
We dig into our insights in the additional likes and wishes segment of the episode. So yes, I would say first impression is not this is what I thought about this movie in a concise
goal is to make
sentence.
people laugh.
Yes, it's supposed to be funny.
It's supposed to be like a one sentence summary of where I'm coming from. This is what you might expect from my detailed likes and wishes.
Yeah, it's supposed to give you a hint. Like, did I like it? Did they notice the funny thing I noticed?
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, first impressions, in case anybody's wondering, on a scale of 1 to 5, scored 4.3. So most people like it, but a few don't.
But I think it's fair to be like, well, keep listening past the first impression. You're going to hear a more detailed recap, review, opinion in our likes and wishes segments.
Yeah.
If it's not getting there for you, I'm curious what's not getting there for you. So email us at hello@girlsgonehallmark.com.
When we go through likes and wishes, are you still missing something? Some people we have gotten feedback in the past. People have said this, you're not recapping the movie. That's true. We don't recap the movies. We do a synopsis and then we talk about the movie. And I think that's very true of a lot of movie reviews. We're not doing a full recap. That is not what we do.
We've tried with The Way Home. It's so hard. Sorry. It's so
to do a minute by minute recap.
Hard and time-consuming.
I think most people have seen the movie. They just want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We asked you what you thought about non-Hallmark content on the main feed. Most people are fine with it. Mm-hmm. Some people said, don't do it. Stick with Hallmark. We will probably continue to branch out a little bit. Hallmark is always going to be our bread and butter over here on Girls Gone Hallmark. That's what we built this brand on. But a lot of people got really into the PBS stuff. And my advice to you would be just to skip those episodes. And we're not doing it at the expense of Hallmark content.
No.
We're still covering Hallmark movies. We're still covering all the Hallmark series. These were Hallmark adjacent-ish. And so I get it if you don't want to watch new stuff. I don't always want to watch new stuff either.
I don't always want to watch Hallmark.
Oh. Some people said I would push that stuff to Patreon.
Let's be frank.
Let's talk about Patreon for a minute. That's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Patreon is a weird little animal. We have tried to get Girls Gone Hallmark listeners over to Patreon.
With exclusive Hallmark content over there. It doesn't work.
When our podcast was much smaller, we tried to have Hallmark content over there, and it wasn't the biggest hit. People have suggested doing ad-free episodes over there. I'm not super opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it at all. My only opposition is I want it to make financial sense in terms of the time it takes. It doesn't take that much time, but it is an additional thing to add to the plate to publish those episodes over on Patreon. And I would want it to be a big enough audience to make that make financial sense, to be quite frank. I'm not doing it for 2 or 3 people. Our Patreon is not Hallmark focused because most of our Patreon listeners aren't here for the Hallmark content. Yeah, this is just a thing we go back and forth on. We have a couple different niches. And we have found that most Hallmark listeners aren't interested in paying, at least for us, for additional content.
Right.
There is so much Hallmark content out there, and the Hallmark audience of listeners is relatively small in terms of overall listenership, that it's hard to convert that into a paid listenership.
Right. But if you look at it from the angle of, let's add this PBS show that may have the same audience as a regular Hallmark viewer, that makes sense to put that review in our feed because we are trying to grow listenership.
Yeah. Oh, I don't watch Hallmark, but I listen to this. Oh, I like The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm going to listen to these episodes. Oh, I like Megan and Wendy. I'll listen to their other Hallmark stuff.
Right. Exactly.
That's kind of the trajectory there that we're hoping for. Oh, we're going to review this Lifetime movie because Sarah Drew is in it. You know, we're just trying to do related content that might, quite frankly, draw in some new viewers.
Exactly.
New listeners.
Exactly.
Uh-oh. Do you want to talk about politics?
Some of our listeners said, quote, don't be political. Quote, I prefer the show stayed focused without venturing into political territory. It pulls me out of the escapist vibe. And finally, leave great American family bashing behind the Patreon wall.
Okay. First of all, we don't actually talk about politics here on this podcast.
Come on over to Patreon. No, we don't. It's not even, I mean, we talk about life.
There's a whiff of it over there. Yeah, but it's certainly not a political podcast. But I'm never going to say that we're not political because life is political. We don't talk about politics. We talk about
Diversity.
inclusivity,
Yes.
and diversity, and celebrating when we get LGBTQ storylines and talking about cultural appropriation. And I understand that for some things, those are political, but for us, we would not be being true to ourselves if we ignored those elements of these movies. And I understand that that means we are not the podcast for everybody.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And that is okay. Let's talk interviews.
Okay. Interviews, guys. I'm like sweating.
Someone in the Facebook group recently was like, hey, can you interview this person?
Here's our thoughts. I always think we should interview more people.
Yeah.
I think that listeners will want to hear interviews. Quite frankly, those episodes don't do that well for us.
That's not true.
There's some that don't do well.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had Tyler Hines on, I think that episode would do well. But if we had a writer on,
Yeah.
those don't do
like
as well.
Palaha's interviews always rank really well. Yeah, the interviews are weird. Okay, I love talking to the people that we've interviewed. Writer, director,
me too.
actor, costume
Genuinely
designer.
interested.
So much fun. I go into them so nervous. I have major imposter syndrome every single time. It's really an us thing. I'd love to talk to these people. I'd love to produce more of these interviews. It's really just a logistics thing, honestly.
It's a nervous thing for me.
Sure, me too.
I mean, if you guys know, Megan's so good at interviews. Like she handles all the questions. She does all of it because I sit there and like slowly melt inside.
I get in my own head and I think, do I have anything interesting to say in this interview? Like, is there these actors, especially when they're promoting something, are doing a ton of interviews. They're being asked the same questions over and over again. And I really think, do I have anything interesting to say? Am I contributing to this conversation at all? Like, is this any different from an interview anywhere else? Mm-hmm. Sometimes, yes, we have fun conversations. And sometimes, not that we don't have fun conversations, the interviewees always show up and deliver. But yeah, we get in our head about it.
Yeah, I really get in my head about it. You know that.
Yeah.
I feel like I just sit there and observe.
Well, and Hallmark has been pushing these press junkets lately. And the feedback on our end has not, quite frankly, been super positive from the listeners.
I was gonna say, notice how Megan is always on the press junkets. I'm not there.
Yeah, Wendy won't do them. Sometimes they're like, I haven't done the last several because
Scheduling.
yes, they've tried to make talent available for those. Honestly, the feedback from the listeners, they don't love the press junket format. And I get it.
They're not intimate.
They're not intimate. And we would all rather have a one-on-one situation as well, even with a shorter time frame. So that's just something that we're continuing to work out on the back end. More interviews, less interviews. Some people said, I'm not crazy about interviews. I'd rather hear Megan and Wendy with each other. And we're here for you. And you should subscribe to our Patreon. I don't know if you are on our Patreon and you did not listen to this week's approved episode, which dropped on Monday, y'all, we can straight up fight on that episode.
Something so stupid too.
I was editing. I was laughing. I was like, did you have to like rein it in to like have a normal conversation, or were you just over it when it was done? Were you mad through the rest of the recording?
No. I just was like, let's just move on. I'm not going to harbor like ill feelings over something stupid like that.
Cocoa butter.
Can we talk about our next comment? Somebody had mentioned, they said, hey, I don't have money for a monthly Patreon, but I'd pay for a once a year annual meetup.
Oh, uh-huh.
And to this, I go, that is so sweet. But also, nobody's coming to meet us. Nobody's paying. Nobody's paying. And the number of people are not paying.
The issue is the world is wide. If all of our highly engaged listeners lived within a 60-mile radius, then yes, I think we could get a small, intimate group who would come to an event. But this is a big leap, someone to pay for a ticket and travel to an event. Are people going to get on the plane for us? They're just not.
No, they're not.
I would love that. That's my dream of dreams, is to do a live podcast tour to multiple cities. That is my dream.
You guys can read the room. Like, that's not happening. If we're not on iHeartRadio
but we would be.
We would be. We're not an exclusive on Spotify. Like, we have a very nice listenership, yes, but we're not armchair expert.
Yeah, we have a highly engaged and lovely listenership that we are very happy to have. But no, we are not armchair expert. We're not Smartless. We're not going to have our own channel on Sirius XM. Although, man, would I love it if we could have a feature on Hallmark's XM channel during the holidays.
Yeah, that would be great, but it's not happening.
Okay. So you just heard the behind the scenes of our thought process on these survey results that came in. Once again, we truly do appreciate everyone who took the time to fill out these surveys, to type in your answers, to give us your feedback. We're taking it all to heart. Some of it we're taking to heart a little bit too much. But ultimately, we want to make this a podcast that we're proud of, and we want to make it a podcast that you enjoy listening to. So hopefully you enjoyed this rundown of the recent listener feedback. And perhaps if this episode dropped in your feed and you're like, I don't want to listen to that you just skipped right through it. We'll be back tomorrow with more listener feedback with our The Way Home listener mailbag episode. Goodbye, y'all.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.